Well, good afternoon, friends. This is Dan Weeks, and I'm privileged to be here in the Manchester office with an amazing team of colleagues who are organizing the New Hampshire Rebellion. And thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for bearing with us on our technical glitches the first time around last week. We apologize for that. We think we've got a great system here, and we're so excited that you've joined for this first of what will be regular calls, where we want to involve you as much as possible in this movement. It's something that we know we can't do alone. So briefly, the plan for this call is, after a short intro here, we're going to hear from Professor Lawrence Lessig, who founded the rebellion in January of 14 with that first big walk. He's going to speak a bit about how far we've come, about the urgency of this moment, and about our big goals for the next several months through the New Hampshire primary, and even thinking beyond that. And then what we want to do is walk you through some of our exciting new tools. You've probably seen them online by now, but we want to take a little more time to break down our new Walk the Talk platform, which just launched last week, as well as our questioner app, which also just launched, and the ways we want to use them, and especially involve you in expanding them, in creating new events, working with us to really use them to the full. We are so excited for this. Speaking for the whole team, I think I can safely say that this feels like an amazing moment in New Hampshire. Literally every day we've got presidential candidates on our doorstep. We've had dozens of visits already and opportunities to ask the question, and we'll have hundreds of opportunities in the coming months before the primary in January. And we're noticing the effect, and you'll hear more about just how far we're coming. But the candidates are answering because they have to, and they're starting to really give some substance as well, which is what we're here for. We're going to go through these different pieces of the agenda, the new tools, as well as the Voices for Reform, the Speakers Bureau. We're going to then end with the Q&A, and this is a time when we hope that you'll stick around. We're going to be pretty short with our introductions here as we go through the different pieces. We want to keep it at about 20 minutes and then leave plenty of time for people to ask questions. At that point, we're going to ask you to simply press 0 on your phone. You'll hear some instructions about how the Q&A will work, and then you'll be in the queue, and as soon as your turn comes up, we'll click the button on our end. You'll get a notice that you are live, and we'll ask you to go ahead and ask your question. At the very end of the call, you will be invited to leave feedback via voicemail. And we hope that you'll take that opportunity to share any further thoughts or questions or just feedback on the call. If you'd rather not speak up during the call, we've got a lot of people on from around the country. That's totally fine. But please take that opportunity while ideas are fresh in your mind to leave some feedback at the end. So without further ado, thank you so much for calling in. We know we've got people from many different states who've taken time this afternoon. And I want to turn it over to the founder of the New Hampshire Rebellion, who we're proud to still be walking with, who's been in New Hampshire every couple weeks speaking as well as leading the upcoming walks. Over to you, Professor Lessig.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for everybody being on this call. I can't tell you how excited I am. You know, if you know me at all, you know I'm typically not incredibly optimistic or hopeful. But I've got to say that what's happened with the New Hampshire Rebellion is the most hopeful and exciting thing that's happening in the context of focusing the political process on this critical issue of how do we end the system of corruption in Washington. And it's happened largely because of the incredible work that has been done by people walking, people asking questions, people spreading the word, and Dan and Jeff's incredible team trying to facilitate that. But it's also happened because we're right at the moment when America is finally ready to turn around and address and think about and hopefully solve this really critical fundamental issue. So the reaction that we're getting as we get the question asked of candidates is incredibly encouraging. And I'm very, very hopeful that as we develop the technology and make it easy for people to use and get more of these questions answered, we will get more of the press to begin to focus on the way that New Hampshire has begun to sharpen this question and to get candidates to talk about it. I'm eager to continue to walk as much as I can, but I'm more eager to see this child of mine, in some sense, grow up and move on without me. So I've been very proud of the leadership that Jeff and Dan have shown here, and happy to take their lead and continue to support as much as I possibly can. This is, I think, the thing we will look back on as the catalyst that made possible the candidates focusing on this question. And if after New Hampshire's primary we can carry the success of this forward throughout the primary season and then the general election, I think we have a shot at getting this issue addressed. So I'm grateful to Dan and Jeff for setting this up, and I'm eager to listen to the rest of the call.
Thank you so much, Larry. We are so grateful that you're continuing to walk with it, even as you're calling many more people into the movement, and we want to heed that call and really become this movement that you envisioned at the outset. I want to turn over now to my colleague Jeff, who got this thing started on the ground. We're thrilled that he's still taking such an important leadership role here with the New Hampshire Rebellion. The first strategy that you've heard us talk about in many emails by now is walk the talk. It's following in Granity's footsteps, and we've got some new tools and a lot of new walks planned. So over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you so much, Larry, for being on this call. It's just a great honor to be working with this team to see the growth of this movement since the very beginning. And as Dan and Larry mentioned, really at the core of it is the walk. And I'm so happy to announce that today these two tools that we're launching are the first of its kind and give you, our supporters, so much power. And this wouldn't be possible. There are people who have volunteered hundreds of hours to make this happen. And most namely, I want to call out Chris Bucheri, Sarah Bonk, Brian Boyko, Shmuley Pinson, Michael Ortleep, Michael Perfett, and others who have just put hundreds and hundreds of hours into these tools to make them what they are today. So, of course, I'm going to be talking about our brand new Walk the Talk platform. This platform gives you, the supporter, the ability to create your own walk, no matter where you are, no matter where you are in the country, and you can set up in less than 10 minutes. And, of course, you can set that up by visiting our website, NHRebellion.org, which will then redirect you to walk.NHRebellion.org, which will direct you to be able to create your own walk. And once you do that, you'll see that we have created a very comprehensive walk toolkit, which takes you through step-by-step how to develop and create your own walk. So it's an exciting tool. I'm grateful to the team over at Rallybound for putting that together. And it's something that we're really, really excited about and look forward to getting your feedback on. The next I really want to focus in on, of course, this is about New Hampshire. I want to focus in on what we have planned most immediately through the summer months. You'll notice by visiting walk.NHRebellion.org, we have a series of walks set up already for New Hampshire. Most namely, we have our upcoming walk for Memorial Day walk, which will take place in Hanover next weekend. Followed quickly by, of course, our July 4th walk, which will once again happen on the seacoast. Last year, it represented our largest walk so far with over 520 people. We are, of course, hoping to exceed that this year, and wanted to let all of you know that this year we are putting a twist on it. Instead of just one walk from Hampton to Portsmouth, we will be having two walks, one from Rochester to Portsmouth and one from Hampton to Portsmouth happening simultaneously. The walk from Rochester is 20 miles, and the walk from Hampton is 16 miles. So we will let you come up with why we decided to go that way. So to represent really 2016 and what all that represents. So we also are going to be walking in the major 4th of July parade. We are just so excited by this platform, so excited that our team has been able to put it together, and so couldn't be thankful enough to the many people who helped put this together. So it is very simple. If you want to register for any of those walks, simply visit walk.NHRebellion.org, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts, your feedback, and your questions and your excitement. So thank you so much to all of you for joining us, and we look forward to continuing this with you.
Thank you, Jeff. Now, for the folks calling in from around the country, we know there are a lot of states represented. We're encouraging all our friends around the country to take a summer vacation. There's no better place than New Hampshire. So check out that walk.nhrebellion.org, please. And if one of those weekends works for you, we'd love to have you and friends come out. We can find volunteers to put you up, I'm sure. Walk with us, celebrate with us. We also want to make a point of making all these walks fun. So we've got an open offer from Ben & Jerry's. All of the walks will have free ice cream at the end. We've been experimenting with street theater. Some of you were at our recent Patriots Day March, where our own Ellen Reed, who you'll hear from in a moment, was dressed as Paul Revere on horseback, leading the way, and we made the cover of the Washington Post. So these are fun events, not quite as cold as January, so you might even invite your friends. But please make a note and go to walk.nhrebellion.org and think about organizing a walk of your own. In addition to providing the tools, we're dedicating some of our staff to help you organize it. So we'll walk you through it. Please don't feel intimidated. We're here to help. All right, over to you, Helen. Our next big strategy is ask the question. So take us away on the new tool, please.
Thank you so much. Okay, our Ask the Question campaign, which many of you hardcore volunteers probably know as bird dogging, is all about following candidates and continually asking them the question of what exact reforms are they going to propose when they have the power to end the corrupting influence of money in our political system. I've had many conversations with maybe more skeptical volunteers that wonder, what is the purpose of this when our politicians are going to give us our typical political answers, our non-answers, non-committal answers. But really, the purpose of this is to elevate our issue in the media and therefore make it the number one issue of the 2016 primary. And even if we ask the question, if we don't get an answer, we get a typical politician answer, people know that is a non-answer. And having it in the media, highlighting the fact that they are not answering or perhaps not giving us the answer that we would like to hear, helps raise our cause, even if it isn't what we would like to hear from them at the time. So if they give us an answer we like, we can hold their feet to the fire and make sure that they follow through. If they are against us, we can hold them accountable for that. And one great example of this recently, some volunteers, and certainly this can be done anywhere around the country. Of course, here in New Hampshire, we have a lot more opportunity. Recently, we had some volunteers here in New Hampshire who were able to ask Lindsey Graham the question, and Lindsey Graham came out with, by far to date, the strongest answer on money in politics of any Republican candidate. And by doing that, he's actually putting pressure on his Republican colleagues and his Republican fellow candidates to have a better answer for themselves. Now, so asking the question, becoming a questioner, there are 3 simple steps. We have a great web app called questioner.us that will walk you through those 3 simple steps. Again, that's questioner. It's questioner without the final E, questioner.us. The 3 steps are first to find the candidate, then ask the question, and then report. So questioner.us will have a great calendar there that will allow you to find your most local candidate events that are coming up. And we also send out weekly emails to everyone in the New Hampshire area for upcoming candidate events that week. Also, if you join through our website and ask to become a questioner, we will add you to a Google group where we are fostering this wonderful community of questioners who are coordinating with each other to go out to events and ask the question of candidates. We are also on that Google group fostering a rapid response team, and that can happen anywhere in the country. If there's a candidate event or perhaps there's a media event where the candidate is speaking, we can have a rapid response through our Google group community. The second step is asking the question. Again, on the questioner.us app, there is a great questioner guide with a lot of great tips and hints for how to best ask the question and to get the best luck in getting called on. I won't go through all of those tips, but I will highlight, I think, our most important tip, which we call LUQ, which means love, understanding, and question. And what this is about is really not being confrontational, but being seen as a friendly face to the candidate, because other organizations have used something like this in the past and have had great success in being continually called on by different campaigns. So we want to, first of all, dress the part, look like a friendly face, what you think a friendly face would look like for that candidate. Then when you get a chance to ask the question, start with a compliment, whether that compliment is simply thanking them for being there, something that you can agree on their platform. Then follow that by stating that you understand how difficult it must be to have to raise money for these campaigns and what a burden that must be to have their time taken away from the things that they really care about. And then follow that with the question. Finally, the third step is to report, and this is, in a way, one of the most crucial step, because if we don't have that information, we can't hold their feet to the fire. Again, through questioner.us, you can either upload video or audio that you've recorded at an event, or you can just put in whatever information that you gathered at an event, whether it's a quote, an answer to your question, and we add that to our tracker system so that we can arm future questioners, so when they see the same candidate, they can say, at this event, you said this, and take them to the next level for strengthening their answer. So in this way, we are going to really highlight this issue in the media, force the candidates to create stronger and stronger answers, and make this the number one issue in the 2016 primary.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I just want to underscore, if you are in New Hampshire and you aren't getting our weekly emails with all the candidate events, meaning you haven't signed up yet for bird dogging, for asking the question, we hope you'll shoot any of us an email and we'll get you signed up so you have the weekly calendar of all the events. If you're outside of New Hampshire, we've heard from a lot of our partners in other states. Other states have their early primaries too, and they are interested in building on the questioner app, adding their own state events so that local citizens can question in their states when the candidates come through. Also, if you're out of state, as Ellen mentioned, this Google group, this rapid response team is something that's going to be really important as the campaigns pick up. There will be national debates where we as citizens can en masse ask the moderators, the media hosts, to insert the question in the official debate. There will be radio calling programs that are about money in politics or just about the election, where having a citizen call in and raise this issue will make a difference. We need to infiltrate at every point. So we hope, even if you're far away from New Hampshire, that you'll get involved in these ways. And with any other ideas, raise them at the end of this call or email us with your ideas. All right, thank you. And now over our third big strategy, which you've been hearing about, we're simply calling Voices for Reform. This is our public education campaign. And for that, I'm going to go over to Beth.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. So Voices for Reform is simply folks talking with communities about this movement and inspiring engagement. There are two ways you can get involved here. The first is by hosting a speaker. One of the best ways to do so is to host a house party, which is basically a fun get-together with friends, neighbors, colleagues. You likely know firsthand how pervasive apathy is. So by sharing your passion for change with your network, you help to break through that. House parties spread hope faster than any online campaign could. Your friends will see and hear your belief in this cause, be persuaded that reform can actually happen, and perhaps actually get involved themselves. So if you're connected with a local school, university, or community group such as a Rotary Club or a church, it'd be great to see if we could work together setting up a speaking event. If you're interested in setting up an event, just email speaker@NHRebellion.org. And another way to get involved is to actually become a speaker. Since last fall, we've had over 50 events and reached an audience of over 5,300 people. So far, we have 24 scheduled between now and autumn, and more requests are coming in on a consistent basis. So it'd be great to have active supporters such as yourselves volunteer to present. If you're comfortable speaking in front of groups, are passionate about working for change, which if you're on this call, you probably are, please send an email to speaker@NHRebellion.org or visit the NHRebellion.org website where the information is posted. And that's all from the Speakers Bureau.
Thank you so much, Beth. Wrapping up, the final strategy that you've been hearing from us is a joint strategy with our partners Ben Cohen of Ben & Jerry's and the Stamp Stampede. It's stamping money out, literally. A lot of you have picked up your stamps already, I'm guessing, but if you haven't, we hope that you will look for your stamp so that it's available on our website just by going to NHRebellion.org/stamp, and you can get the customized NH Rebellion stamp, or you can get a lot of other stamps. This is the fully legal way of adorning our dollar bills and turning them into billboards. We call it the petition on steroids, that is seen by literally hundreds of people. Every dollar bill seen by almost 1,000 people, we estimate. And it's a great way to get the message out and drive people to the website and involve them in the movement. That's something you can do wherever you are. We hope you'll get a stamp by going to NHRebellion.org/stamp. There are a lot of other little initiatives, and we don't want to go into them now. We want to leave time for questions and let you get on with your weekend in just a few minutes. But we want to hear more ideas from you. We want to involve you. We want to educate our movement more. So on upcoming calls, we want to actually do some briefings about the issue and bring some experts in to train on the issue. We have a lot of interest from local folks in different communities about becoming leaders and convening their friends, whether a once-off house party or a more regular meeting. And our team is here to support those kinds of local initiatives. There's legislation that we're supporting at the state level through the parent organization Open Democracy and a lot of other activities going on. All right, now is the time when we want to hear your ideas, as well as any questions for Professor Lessig, who's still with us, or for any members of the team. So we are going to invite you once again to simply dial 0 on your phone. That will give you a couple seconds of instructions. You'll be placed in the queue, and then we will press the button, and you will be on, and we'll invite you to ask your questions. So, and then a final reminder that when you do hang up at the end of this call, or if you need to leave early, you'll be invited to leave a message with your feedback. This is a great chance, if you haven't asked a question publicly, to just share your thoughts or ideas or questions, and we'll pick those up and we'll get back to you. If you don't want to leave a message, that's fine, just hang up. So thank you so much for taking this time out on this Friday afternoon to join this call and to hear about our activities, and we want to open it up now. Once again, just press 0 if you want to get into the queue, and we will take your questions as they come. Starting with the first. One of our supporters in Maryland, please speak up.
Oh, okay. My name is Cecil O'Neill, and I would particularly like to speak to Professor Lessig. I read his opinion article in the Washington Post on I believe, the 9th of May, and it was terrific. I agree with everything he said, but one of the things that he said right at the last is, what do we do to fix it? I would like to hear his view on that. And number 2, I am approaching 95 years old, so I'm so envious of all of you who are doing these walks. But I'm at home, and I'm planning. I've got the computer going, and I would like to send to whomever would circulate it ideas as to what we have, because it looks to me like we have 2 absolutely major must things to do. The first is for Congress to get together and get this H.R. 20 government by the people that John Sarbanes, Congressman John Sarbanes put in the 1st of February of this year. And we have to do that. And then, as a second thing, we could move on to support move to amend. But in my judgment, we won't get either of these things done until the fruits of what you folks are doing right in New Hampshire pays off. Namely, we need to get majorities in both houses and get a veto-proof Congress and then move on. And that's about what I had to say.
Thank you so much for that. Professor Lessig.
Yeah, so thanks for the question and kind words about the piece. I think the answer to the question is what exactly you said at the end of your question. What we have to do is we have to find a way to get the presidential candidates to begin to talk openly and supportively about the idea of changing the way we fund elections. And Sarbanes' bill is obviously the one with the most support in Congress right now. Mm-hmm. But there's also a proposal by Jim Rubins, a Republican from New Hampshire, for a voucher program, which would complement what John Sarbanes is talking about. And my own view is we have to find a way to get Republicans and Democrats alike to talk about this issue of reform.
Amen
So my hope with pressing this issue with Secretary Clinton is that they will take a step beyond what feels a little bit to me like a inadequate promise. The idea that they would address. It's not enough for them to address this problem by just saying we're going to amend the Constitution. Now they're thinking about what more they want to call for, and that's why I think it's important now to be raising the bar and saying, here's what you need to be calling for. You need to be calling for fundamentally changing the way we fund elections so that we actually get the right kind of the change here. But we need to do it in a way, I think, that's inclusive and cross-partisan, and that's going to be the hardest part of this to negotiate.
Thanks so much, Larry. Let's move on to the next question. One of our supporters in Indiana. You're up in Indiana.
Hey, this is Ryan. I have a quick question about the New Hampshire Rebellion and just a question about metrics of success. So what are the goals of the march and the activity up in New Hampshire? What does failure look like, and what does success look like?
That's a great question. I'll start. This is Dan, and then let Larry or Jeff jump in as well. The big goal of the New Hampshire Rebellion is to make the corruption of money in politics the central issue of the 2016 presidential election. That's a really big goal, and it's not something that we can accomplish in New Hampshire alone. The way we think we can move in terms of metrics toward that in New Hampshire is by, first of all, as the input, the core activity, ensuring that the question itself is asked dozens or even hundreds of times of the candidates so that they're hearing it at literally every stop. In fact, when we train our volunteers, questioners, we ask them to ask the first question to get their hand up first so that the question is being asked. And we're tracking every time we appear, we get it asked. And then we're tracking, of course, the response. We have so far dozens of responses that we've logged. And for each candidate, we're tracking how they've moved from generally, some nice sound bites at the beginning toward actual concrete support for solutions as they move along. One of the ways we'll be able to track their support is by unveiling a menu of reforms, not endorsing specific ones at this stage, but just specific reforms that they can support and watching them move from, again, sound bites toward concrete support. In terms of the walks, the major purpose of these walks is to create a sense of momentum by earning national and certainly state media. We're tracking all the media have so far collected close to 500 press hits, most of them state, but quite a few national ones, and we've seen those increase over time. Also, as we gather the question and publicize the answers on the questioner app, we're able to get media tracking those and telling that story, so we're obviously tracking those hits. And we've set a lot of concrete goals in terms of number of participants. We've had hundreds of people at walks so far. We need to move toward thousands of participants at these walks to keep the momentum building. So we're working with a lot of partners on the ground in New Hampshire. We're doing our phone banking. We're even planning to do some paid media with a film with leading New Hampshire citizens, calling on the whole state to rise up around this issue and demand the candidates address it. These are some of the metrics, and I'd be happy offline to give you more details on the goals that we've set for them. But again, at the end of the day, this has got to be issue number one in 2016. We want to come out of New Hampshire with this being at least the one issue that both sides, all the major candidates are agreeing on and even committing to some concrete reforms. Anything else from Larry or other colleagues here?
You covered it.
All right, let's take the next question. Thanks. And we have someone from New York. You're up. Supporter in New York.
Hi, this is Lisa Caswell. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Hi,
great.
Lisa.
Hi, everybody. Yep. Thank you all for such a very clear and concise presentation. And I'm calling because I know I've been in touch with you, and you sent me the list of other New Yorkers who are interested in this, and I was just asking a logistics question in terms of trying to create a similar website to what you've got. I don't want to. We're very interested in following exactly along the lines you've established, and I'm trying to figure out, given the infrastructure that's there and how important it is, what would be the right protocol for trying to duplicate it or do something separate that was similar? Like, what is the best thing in your minds about moving it into another state and setting up a central website that follows along the lines you've already established?
Sure, Lisa. So this is Jeff McLean, and thank you so much for that question. So I should say right off the bat, everything that we create, everything that we've developed here in New Hampshire, of course, is licensed as a Creative Commons license. So this is all free for all of our participants anywhere in the country to use. So we are more than happy to work with you or others around what we have built, not only just for our website, but also, as we alluded to earlier, in creating the toolkits that we've created online that walk you through the steps in terms of creating your own walk. So, of course, we have our walk platform. So, for example, developing and starting your own walk, we've created that for you that you can use and tailor to however you would need it. We've created a video, a demo video through the help of our partners Rallybound that helps you create your own website on that platform. And, of course, we are happy to, our team here is happy to help you one-on-one individually to replicate this in other states, such as New York.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. And I was just adding, although our name is New Hampshire Rebellion, we know what this will take is a national citizens rebellion. We're not going to be the ones who deliver that for the nation. We're going to need a movement of people like you guys around the country. And so whatever the name, whatever the banner, we'd love to have you partner with us. And just this afternoon, we were on the phone with supporters looking to expand the questioning to other states. That platform, which was created for us by an amazing team, Sarah and Chris in California, pro bono, we want to make that available to any other state. If you've got the time and the interest, and in fact, it looks like New York might be an early primary state this year with some candidate visits. If you've got time to track events, we can easily get you set up to start inputting those events in the platform. We can reach out to our New York supporters or supporters in other states. We can team up with other partners that have lists in those states and start notifying them about candidate appearances, having them upload the candidate statements and add to this library of statements that will be on there. So there are a lot of ways that other states can plug in, and we know it's going to take a lot of other states for us to succeed. And
just on that, and of course, Questioner US currently, questioner.us, again, without the E is very important. Questioner.us is free and available for anybody to use in any state where candidates may be. So certainly we'd love to see those, not just from New Hampshire, but from your own state as well, if candidates happen to be in your state. Thank you so much. And now we're moving on to a caller from here in New Hampshire.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Dan. This is Kath Allen.
Hey, Kath. Thanks for calling in.
Okay. I got, it's kind of like an in-state thing about getting out to all the different churches, schools, whatever. They've told me here at Conval it's too political when I've tried to come in with my stuff. With Social Security, Medicare.
Yeah. Let me actually turn it over to Beth to talk about one of our programs in the schools, which is a way of introducing kids without running afoul of political guidelines, but we're calling it Granny D in Schools, named after our founder, Granny D, Doris Haddock, who started Open Democracy. So, Beth, talk a little bit about the Granny D in Schools program as a way to get into schools and not be too political.
Yeah, so specifically for New Hampshire schools, talking about Granny D, Doris Haddock, because she was a lifelong New Hampshire resident and a recent historical figure, is a way to begin talking about campaign finance and the reform movement in general, which informed the New Hampshire Rebellion and was its precursor. So we've been setting up events in middle school and high schools to go in, and there's a variety of options. One involves showing a documentary and then discussing it with the students. And it's a great way to talk about the subject matter without necessarily advocating for a particular group or cause. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, again, you can just email speaker@NHRebellion.org.
Thank you, Beth. And I would just add, this is the one issue, in my experience, that really cuts across the divide. It's not ultimately about campaign finance reform. It's certainly not about getting one party to beat the other. It's about making our democracy actually work as a democracy. We've had a lot of churches also that have invited our speakers in, even that have started stamping the offering plate on Sunday with the Stampede stamps. It's pretty exciting. So we think this has a chance, again, not about partisan politics, but about democracy. We think it can be sold to everybody. Thank you, Kath, and let's move on to a caller from Maryland. You're on the line, Maryland.
Hi, Hedrick Smith calling from D.C., actually not Maryland. Your presentation was terrific. Your operations are impressive. And one of the questions that rises in my mind is with the blockage in the New Hampshire legislature of a piece of legislation that would endorse a constitutional amendment, whether or not in your Voices of Reform or Voices for Reform, you're thinking about some kind of fall conclave that brings together people across the political spectrum in New Hampshire. So New Hampshire speaks. It isn't just questioners, individuals, but the state is speaking to presidential candidates. You got Jim Rubins and other Republicans, a guy like Steve Everett in Portsmouth, a former Republican candidate for a governor, as well as Democrats and independents, putting some muscle, political muscle behind us. Had the legislature acted, you would have had the state speaking. But now maybe you need to pull together kind of a citizens convention, a citizens assembly in the fall to kind of tee up for the campaign as it gets more intense at the end of the year and early 2016. Are you thinking about that? Are you planning for something like that? And is there any way I could help?
Thank you so much, Hedrick. We're honored you called in. For callers who don't know, Hedrick Smith is the author of Reclaim the American Dream. Apologies, that's not the exact title, but I invite everybody to go to reclaimtheamericandream.org, one of the national sites that is gathering information on this movement and helping to build awareness and build the movement. Hedrick, thanks for that question. As some will know, there is a movement afoot to overturn Citizens United. It's one of the handful of reforms that would make a real difference. And here in New Hampshire, we are close to becoming the 17th state that calls on Congress to amend the Constitution. In fact, we had a unanimous vote in support of a bill that creates a study committee to look at the different proposals and states the need for such an amendment. This was a unanimous Senate vote here in New Hampshire after we lost just a few months before. That's a sign that the movement is gaining. We've also had 59 New Hampshire towns call for amendments. In fact, 69 New Hampshire towns call for amendments for Congress to act on this. So, Hedrick, you're quite right that we're seeing momentum in New Hampshire. We are looking at more formal gatherings with the candidates. This is partly an answer to your question. A candidate conversation series with some other partners in New Hampshire where we might get them to come and really devote formal attention to this issue. That's an idea that's just in work. And we are talking to other national partners that have been involved in this fight to address Citizens United about larger organizing in New Hampshire. The idea of a fall event is something we're certainly interested in, so we'd love to talk more with you offline as we'll be talking with our partners. Right now we're looking at a summer campaign to get supporters to approach their local lawmakers on these kinds of issues. So we'd love to speak more about that. And apologies, Hedrick, I gave the wrong name for your book. Of course, it's Who Stole the American Dream? And for other callers, if you haven't read it, we hope you will. It's a great way of understanding the issue. Thanks so much, Hedrick. And let's move on to the next caller. We have another from Maryland or possibly D.C. You're on the line.
Oh, hi. Again, it's funny. I'm not from D.C. I'm the one from Maryland. It's Gabrielle. And am
Gabrielle,
I in?
welcome.
Thank you.
You're in.
I just wanted the idea of asking, would there be wisdom to shorten our campaigns? Right now, you in the U.S. do campaigning 2 years out. And I was thinking, are we treating the symptom and not the disease?
So this is Larry. I think it would be wonderful if we could shorten the campaigns. I don't see any reason why we should be electing congressmen every 2 years as opposed to 4. But the problem with those changes is that they would require constitutional amendments, which if we move towards an Article 5 convention, in theory could be addressed, but it's kind of hard to imagine Congress proposing those amendments anytime soon.
But if we were doing the New Hampshire campaign, might it just be easy for us to show like an equation, for an example, time campaigning in comparison to time serving?
We could, but the reality is that everybody is campaigning all the time now. They raise money from the very first day after they've been elected.
In the U.S., right? Or
yeah.
Is that we just have a daughter that's now a citizen of England, and they do campaigning for 6 weeks.
Right, and that's because, first of all, they have irregular elections. Like, so a campaign is only once they've called an election, then they have the campaign. And we have regular elections. So, we know exactly when the election's going to be. And secondly, if the Congress tried to pass a law to restrict people from campaigning outside of a limited time, like if they said you have 9 months to campaign, the Supreme Court would strike that down.
Oh, of course.
So that's what makes it hard for us to address it with that kind of solution.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Sure.
Thank you very much. And by all means, let's dream big about the kind of system we want to see. And there are reforms that could move us in that direction. Again, our challenge right now is to create the moment, to create the will nationally to make these changes actually possible. All right, let's move on to another caller here in New Hampshire. You're on the line, New Hampshire.
Hi, my name is Valerie Roman, and I'm from Windham, New Hampshire. And fortunately, I was very lucky to be able to hear Professor Lessig recently at Phillips Academy in Andover. And also he came to speak in our town in Windham. And I'm just wondering if those presentations and videos are available to people who are having house parties, because I think that the length of time and the comprehensiveness of those presentations were extraordinary.
Well, I'm grateful for that. I know the New Hampshire Rebellion takes some of them, and I'm, of course, really eager that they take as many as they want. The one the really fun one at Phillips Academy is actually on my Vimeo page, which, let me see how you get to it. I think you just go to, what I'll do, I can. What I can do is just make it available to the New Hampshire Rebellion people. Maybe you want to link from it on their page.
Okay,
perfect.
That'd be great.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you for
that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and thank you for continuing to keep this issue going. I know recently I was involved with the Washington Post article, and it was in talking with the reporter, it was just, I thanked her very much for really helping to bring this issue in the forefront, because the media generally doesn't tend to focus in on the most critical issues at times. So I hope that we can continue that momentum.
And if we can just call you out, Valerie, because we need to thank you. Valerie's one of our star questioners. She had asked the question of Governor Chris Christie just a few days before. We were contacted by the Washington Post. They wanted to talk about our walks, our Patriots Day walk. They wanted to talk to a real citizen questioner, and we put the reporter, Mattea Gold, in touch with Valerie and got a great quote. So please join Valerie if you aren't already in asking the question. And I'll just mention we do have a couple of Professor Lessig's amazing presentations already online. His 2 TED Talks, which specifically address this and talk about the NHRebellion. Those are all, if you just go to NHRebellion.org, you'll see right on the homepage the Voices for Reform link. And then you'll see below that, you can click on resources, or you can also go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/NHRebellion, and there's a lot more video there. But we will be adding some more content there too. Again, NHRebellion.org and the Voices for Reform. So thanks so much, Valerie. And we've got one more question in the queue, also from here in New Hampshire. You're online.
Yes, hi. This is Bess Mosley from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I didn't really have a question. I wanted to encourage anybody who is not already getting Ellen's weekly listings of speakers to make sure they get on her distribution list. Thanks to Ellen, I've been to 3 or 4 events in the last couple of weeks, and today's event was with Jim Webb, of whom I got to ask a question. I'll be sending Ellen his responses, but that's a wonderful tool, and because you get it a week in advance, you can kind of plan things better than if you read in the paper the night before someone is going to be in your area. So for those of you not in New Hampshire, I can attest to the fact that if you're interested in politics and these issues, this is a wonderful time to be in New Hampshire. So thank you, Ellen, and the rest of you who keep all of this together and organized.
Thank you, Bess. I'm very humbled by your thanking of me, because I really think you and people like Valerie and all of you wonderful questioners are really the stars.
Thank you so much, Bess. We've had one more question come in, and we want to wrap it up within the hour. So let's take this last question, and then we'll close. Someone from Montana, please, you're on the line.
Hi, this is Fran Coover calling in, and I'm wondering what you may have already been thinking in terms of a national walk. How far out some kind of national action based on what you've learned in New Hampshire might be in your planning, and what that might look like.
Thanks, Fran, and we're thrilled you've called in. Fran traveled across the country to walk with us in the cold of winter this past January. Fran, we can't commit to anything just yet because we got our hands full in New Hampshire, but we're thinking of this in 2 stages. Number one, putting the tools out there, and that we've done. This walk platform, Walk the Talk platform at walk.nhrebellion.org is easy to use for walks in any part of the country, and our team is here to help you get it set up, help you advertise. And the Walk the Talk toolkit, which Jeff spoke about, is also takes you step by step through the process of organizing local walks. Our dream is that starting on this July 4th, we won't just walk in New Hampshire on the seacoast, our big walk, as well as some parades in New Hampshire that same day, but that we'll have folks like you in other parts of the country organizing even small walks, joining a local parade, which is very easy to do. As a way, we can help you with signs and all the rest, as a way to start building visibility in your community. And then we're exploring as a dream, and it's too soon to announce anything, but obviously the election will continue after New Hampshire in January. And we're looking at the other states, how we can have supporters organizing walks as the campaigns, as the elections happen, the primaries in other states, and then looking at next summer, 2016, as we celebrate July 4th once again and get into the busiest season of the presidential election with the nominating conventions happening later that summer and then the final election in the fall. We're looking at much bigger July 4th walks next year if we can do it with your help, and then maybe a national walk to D.C. from multiple states at the end to seal the deal and to demand by Inauguration Day 2017 that this is issue number one in the first 100 days for the next president. Again, we don't have the resources yet. We've got a lot of work to do, but we hope you'll keep dreaming with us and thinking about how we can make this happen because it is going to take this kind of national movement. Thank you all so much for calling in. We are just about at the hour, so we want to give Professor Lessig a chance to say a closing word, if you will, and then we'll sign off. And again, invite you, as you hang up, to leave a message with any additional feedback or questions, and we'll get back to you. And as ever, with any ideas, any ways to be involved, the starting point is always NHRebellion.org. So, Professor Lessig, to close out?
Yeah, thanks. And again, I'm grateful, and I don't have any substance except to say if you have questions for me too, if you leave that on the voicemail, I'm happy to answer those questions as well. But thank you so much for what you're doing to make this such a success.
Thank you all, and we'll be in touch. We're going to do more of these. We hope you'll keep calling in. We're going to bring some unique substance each time. We want to involve some other experts to help brief us on the issue so we're as effective as advocates as we can be. So please keep watching your email for the next one of these. As ever, NHRebellion.org to get involved in any of these ways, and do share your ideas on your voicemail just now. Thank you so much for your time, and let's move. Have a great weekend.